There we go. Welcome as people are streaming in here. Great to have you join us today. I'm joining out of British Columbia, a small little town, Kelowna in Canada. Carl, where are you joining in from today?
I'm joining in from just outside of Chicago in the state of Illinois in the United States.
Amazing, amazing. So we're really spreading across the globe here today. Really great having you. I'm really excited about today. It's always great learning from the best. Carl, we're just going to wait here for somebody as they are joining in here, the rest of the audience. Yeah, so when you're in, maybe drop down. Yes, great. Drop down into the comments there where you guys are joining from. I see some people coming in from Dallas, Texas. Where are you joining from? Boston. Great. Welcome. Belgium. Nice. Pakistan. Calgary. Amazing. Albuquerque, Madrid, Spain, Germany, Los Angeles. Everybody, welcome. This is truly great.
Mexico, Poland, Connecticut,
There
Saudi
we go.
Arabia. What I love about these sessions is we get people from all over the world. It's really very neat.
Amazing. Yeah, it's really great to connect. It's truly so easy to globally connect with different people today. Really find that inspiring. We are going to kick this off here in a couple of seconds. Just waiting for some more people to join. I see Tennessee there. I see Bogota, Mali, Houston. Awesome. Welcome, everybody. Today, we are going to discuss a masterclass in Copilot for FP&A. So, who are we and why should you be listening to us? My name is Yaku Skuman. I'm an associate director here of strategic finance at Drivetrain. Drivetrain is an FP&A platform in the CPM space. We bring the best of automation of your reporting and financial planning together, layered in with collaboration as well as AI. I am very excited, though, to welcome today's speaker, Carl Seidman. Now, Carl, you don't really need any introduction from me. Carl has worked with Fortune 1000 companies, advising CFOs and finance teams on strategic planning, FP&A build-outs, forecasting, and even turnaround and crisis management. What makes Carl stand out is his deep expertise, but not only that, his passion for teaching as well. He has developed and delivered programs in advanced financial modeling, forecasting, corporate FP&A, strategic planning, and today he's here to share those expertise with us. So Carl also wears multiple hats. He's a CPA, he's a certified insolvency and restructuring advisor, and a certified fraud examiner as well. So we're in for a treat today, everybody. Please join me in welcoming Carl. All
Yago, thank
right.
you so much for having me. Everyone, thank you for joining. Again, as Yako points out in the chat window, we've got people from all over the world, so it's really neat to see just such diversity of not just locations, but I'm sure also your backgrounds as well in finance, accounting, data, and more. What we would love to do, just to get a little bit more information about you and where you're coming from, is let's run a polling question here. And what I would love to know from you is where are you using Copilot today, if you are? Are you using it in Excel? Are you using it in PowerPoint? Are you using it in Word and Outlook, other Microsoft apps? Is it something that, yes, you're using it regularly? No, you're not using it at all? Or maybe you're just experimenting with it?
Great. It seems like a lot of people just started experimenting. Other people don't use it yet. On the second question there, it seems like the majority is unsure in which cases to leverage it. So this is really going to paint a great picture for us and help Carl and myself facilitate and show you what the art of the possible is with Copilot today. Perfect. Let's run that for a couple of more seconds. And then, Carl, I will probably hand that over to you. So let me stop sharing and we can have a look at the rest of the agenda.
Great. Okay. Yucko, can you see my screen?
I can indeed.
Okay, wonderful. I assume everybody else can see it as well. So, what we're going to be talking about today in this educational session is we'll be talking about a lot of different applications of how AI can help support our work in data management and FP&A workflows, in insights, in reconciliations, in variances, and even more. So, to start it out, I'm going to give a little bit of a high level overview, but then immediately I'm going to roll up my sleeves and I'm going to introduce you to a handful of different applications that you can start implementing right away. So as it relates to Copilot in Excel, specifically for applications in FP&A, I want to highlight that Copilot is called Copilot, not Pilot. And so, what I mean by that is Copilot is not intended to replace us. It's intended to help augment our work. It's going to help us get more efficient. It's going to help us do some of the repetitive, busy work a lot quicker, or maybe not even have to do it at all ourselves. In addition, what you're going to see very, very quickly in my first illustrations is Copilot's going to start giving us answers even without us having to ask them. Now, if you turn the clocks back several years ago, Copilot could not do that. But every week, every month that goes by, the features and the benefits of what Copilot can do just get even better. So what's going to happen is we can connect Copilot into our data. It's going to say, without me asking, this is what your data says. This is what revenue is. This is what profitability is. This is where the anomalies are. So again, we can prompt it, but with the integration, what's happening over time, it's going to get even more seamless and even more intuitive. The reason why this is so beneficial is, some of you may even think to chat into the chat window, if I can ask you, how many of you are spending a lot of your time on low value work, or what I might call non-value add work? Again, feel free to type it into the chat window. How many of you are dealing with low value or non-value add kinds of work, mechanics, setting up data, connecting it? Bart says sometimes for sure. What about the rest of you?
Yeah,
I am absolutely too often. Yes. Yako, what were you going to say from your perspective?
yeah, same here. A lot
It
of
happens all the time.
100%.
Right. So so deep in data and process that it's often taking us away from really what is the most value add. And as I made mention just a couple of moments ago, is it's Copilot, it's not Pilot. It's not replacing what we do hands-on. It's going to help augment and supplement what we need to do. Okay, so what I'm going to do is to give a very thorough demonstration right out of the gates. Is I'm in a blank workbook. Now, before you start working in Copilot, many of you might not even realize this. Up at the top, you're going to see where it says auto save. This is on. I am connected to the internet. I have auto save turned on. Why does this matter? Because the AI engine does not sit on your machine. The AI engine is sitting out there. And so you need to be connected to the internet, have autosave turned on so that you can start to work with this hands-on. All right, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to data, and I'm going to go over here to the left where you can see get data. Now, if you know what I'm about to do, type it in your chat window. What tool is this? Especially if you've come through any sessions with me before. Get data from file, and I'm going to connect this to a CSV folder. I see Power Query, Power Query, Power Query. That's right. And I see a lot of familiar faces in here. It's great to see you. So I'm going to go right here and I'm going to connect to, let's say, a raw trial balance. I'm going to select actual number 1. Okay. Now, when I do, it's going to pop up this window. This is a preview of the data we're dealing with. Again, if you've been with me before, you know I almost never click load. I'm going to click transform the data. What happens? This window pops up. It says, this is what your data looks like. Here's the source. I'm promoting my headers up to the top, and then it's also changing the type to formats that I can deal with. I'm going to go close and load. I'm going to close and load to. It's going to bring up a window. How do I want to connect it? Let's stay simple. Dynamic table. I'm going to click OK. And now you can see that all of this information from my trial balance, I've got my GL code, account names, I have a role of category, a calculation, which isn't super relevant right here, the period or month, and then also the actual value. Now you're going to see that some of these are zeros, particularly as it relates to the balance sheet, but I have a lot of data on my P&L. I'm going to do another connection, data, get data from file, from CSV, and I'm going to connect to actual number 2. Same process. Window pops up, transform the data, and then I'm going to go again up here to close and load to. Dynamic table. Let's click OK. Now, you can see that I have oops, let's get rid of this one here, and let's call this, oops, let's try this one more time. Just bear with me. I'm going to delete this because it looked like I had a copy. So again, I'm going to go get data from CSV, and then let's do it for actual number 2. Transform, close and load 2, and then again, let's bring this in as a table. Perfect. Let me hit pause. If I can ask you, how many of you have ever dealt with back-end data from a client, from a colleague, that they have made changes to, and they haven't told you about it? And you import it into a model or you import it into a file, and you say, something doesn't look right. I don't know what. I see Rigo says quite often. Lucas says, geez, daily. Julie says yes. Jack says yes. It happens all of the time. And if I can give you a real life story, this was about 4 years ago. I was on an engagement with a director of FP&A at a over $200 million market company. And this gentleman said, Carl, the problem that I have as director of FP&A is I get all of this back-end data from my accounting team. And I start doing the analysis. I put it into my model. I present it in front of leadership, and it's wrong. And he says, I know that there's a broken part of this process, but I don't know how to reconcile and understand where these differences are taking place. Let me show you. If I come over here to the home ribbon, this area to the right, this is where the magic happens. We have add-ins, we have analyzed data, and we have Copilot. Now, before we even step into the core baseline Copilot, I'm going to click on add-ins. Now, what a lot of people don't know is that in Excel, we can add in all of these different features and tools. And right here, you can see that it says Finance Microsoft 365 Copilot is the next generation AI assistant for finance professionals. When I select Finance in Microsoft 365 Copilot, take a look at what happens. This is unbelievable. I'm going to select the entirety of my data. Let me just click refresh so we have everything totally current. And I'm going to bring your attention up here. Now, as much progress as we have made in Copilot, in the not too distant future, you can see that finance will become a solution in Microsoft 365 Copilot. Access in Excel stays the same. So it says, hello, Carl. This sheet contains 2,231 rows in this table. And guess what? I did not ask it. I did not analyze what's my revenue, what's my cost of goods sold. It's telling me. So right here, it's saying it appears that in revenue, you have 117.7. Even when I put my cursor over it, it's giving it down to the dollar. $117 million. Well, if I come over here and I say, all right, I want to click off of this. I only want to see revenue. And I highlight the entirety of this. Let's just change this to a number format. Take a look down here, 117.7 million. If I come over here to account 509,000 for cost of goods sold, it's 100.7. If I undo this and I come back and I come over here to account code and I say 5009000, let's take a look. All the way down here, this is 100.7 million. So the point that I'm making here is even before I start doing work in Copilot, Copilot is saying, I have insights to give to you. Let's keep going. Now down here, actually, let me unfilter this real quick. Okay, so down here, it's giving me suggested actions. It's saying I could create a pivot table with account code and actual values. Do you want to do that? Let's bypass this for now. But then I'm going to come down here, financial reconciliation, as well as financial data preparation. What I'm going to do here is click on financial data preparation, and the Copilot chat window opens up. It says, describe the preparation tasks that you want. Now, for one, it's giving me some suggestions. Even though I might be very creative in the way that I want to do this, what is happening here is it's giving me all of these suggestions of saying, okay, I could remove duplicates. I could remove empty rows. I could remove leading or trailing spaces. What I'm going to do is I'm going to say change period format to, let's say, year, 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 year. Let's go month, month. Let's go day, day. And I'm going to submit this in, and let's see what it does. All right, so it says format period column as year, 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 month, day, day. I'm going to add that as a rule, and look at what it's just done. It's just completely reformatted my data into the format that I want it to be. But that's not all. I'm going to undo this, and let's come back over to the trial balance actual 2 and the trial balance actual 1. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here to financial reconciliation. When I select financial reconciliation, take a look at what it's doing. It's saying I have a couple of tables here. I have raw table, raw TB1. I have raw TB2. Now take a look at what Copilot is doing here. If any of you have ever come through educational sessions with me before, you know that I am a huge proponent of what I call mapping. And I'm sure that Jaco, when I turn some of this over to you, you'll talk about the importance of mapping and tying data as well. But
That's
what
correct.
this is doing is saying, let me take a look at both of these schedules, map account code, account name, period, actual value, actual value. Now down here, Copilot is saying, let's suggest keys for reconciliation. I can either regenerate this again, get out of here and discard it, or I'm going to click accept. Now, down here, I'm going to say detailed report view. I'm going to turn that on, and I'm going to say, let's reconcile this data. Generating reconciliation report. Let's see what it does. Okay. Now, it has created a new reconciliation report, and I'm going to bring down everything that you see here in Insights. It's saying the operation between one set of data and the other resulted in 2,231 sets of transactions being matched perfectly. Well, that's certainly nice, right? Well, let's take a look even further. There were 0 transactions categorized as potentially matched. So this is interesting. What Copilot does, how much of this worked perfectly and how much of this is kind of close to matching? Well, in this case, it said none of this was just close to matching. It said it's pretty good. Now, as I go down, there were no major discrepancies. As I come down, there are no transactions that didn't match from 2 to 1. However, I want to bring your attention right here. Think back to the example I gave 5-10 minutes ago. I said, I had a client who brought me in and said, accounting is changing all of the data. They're changing all of these disconnects in my process. And then I'm presenting this in front of my leadership and I'm embarrassing myself. Well, down here, it says a single set of transactions was identified in the report as being present only in actual 1, not being found. Specifically, if we take a look right here, it's calling it out. It's telling me exactly where it is. Account code 400,000, account name revenue, period March 31st, 2023, and the amount is $5,246,000. Now let me come back over here. If I come to my
Sorry to interrupt there. We just had a question coming in from Natalie. She says, I'm missing how the financial reconciliation option showed up in the Copilot window in the first place. Would you mind just showing that again?
I'm sorry. So how am I missing? Financial reconciliation option. How did it appear in the first place? So if we come over to add-ins, and let me come out of here for just a moment. If we come back over here and I go to add-ins, all I need to do is type in finance. And you can see right here, this is finance in Microsoft Copilot. Okay, so I'm going to click this. It's going to add it in right here and we'll be good to go. All right, but now let me come back to these 2 data sheets. I'm going to come here. I'm going to select revenue. And then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to select revenue. Okay, now as I jump back and forth, you're going to see there is incongruence here. I have over 2,200 lines. And when we were talking about what's a good use of Copilot, what's a good use of our time, and so many of you had said, I'm wasting my time on non-value add activities. The problem that we have here is how do we identify where the anomalies are? Well, right here, we have 5.246 million. It appears in March. Over here, it's missing. So we're using Copilot to say what's here, what's not. Give me a list of what's missing. And then one wonderful piece here is I can save this as a template. So the next time that Jaco brings in new data, I can just say, let's run this all over again. Okay, so that is one example of how we can use Copilot. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to come back over and I'm going to share with you just some additional points of what we can follow in Copilot. And Jaco, I see that it might be that I'm having some connectivity issues. Is it fixing itself, or are we still having some problems?
Yeah, we kind of flowing in and out a bit there, Carl. Don't know if it's a network connection maybe, but it's correcting itself momentarily.
Sure. Let me see if I can. Let me see if I can get this to speed up just a little bit. Sorry for the inconvenience, everyone.
Sure, no worries. So just a call out while we're looking at that. I know that we've posted that as well. If you have any questions, everybody, kind of post them here in the comments section. I will monitor this section as well, as will Carl, and we'll try to answer the questions as much as we can. We want to keep this as conversational and as, say, easy breezy as possible. Carl, back to you.
Okay, so let's go back to this introduction configuration of Copilot. Remember, one of the main points that we need to focus on is making sure that autosave is turned on, and then everything as it relates to Copilot is located over here. Add-ins, we just talk about how to add in Finance and Microsoft 365 Copilot. However, we also have analyzed data over here, and then we also have what I'm going to call core Copilot. We will take a step back into the basics and say, how do we even get started, especially for those who have never even worked in Copilot before. Let's come back over to these slides. In addition, hopefully you're already seeing the benefits and considerations an FP&A advisor and fractional CFO is that I'm working with all of these different groups within a company. And rather than spending mechanics, I want to be able to help support as an advisor all of these other people. It's focusing our time and our energy on the value add tasks instead of the mechanics that unfortunately waste so much of our time. I've already shown you a little bit of key applications. We'll be going through even more. However, I'm also going to talk about limitations. Any of you, feel free to type into your chat window, any of you who use Copilot or ChatGPT or Gemini or any other AI tool, have you ever experienced its hallucinations or its bad answers or its mistakes? I'm going to wait for some of your answers, but my guess is that some of you, I already see it. Yes, many times. Yes, all the time. Sure. Yes, daily, always. Copilot is no different. It's a wonderful tool, but it's not flawless. And then towards the end of our session, we'll talk about what does Copilot hold for the future of Excel. Now, just a real quick overview for you. What you can see here is Microsoft leverages AI and the backend engine to data. It allows us to clean it up, create formulas, conduct analysis, and allow us to focus a whole lot more on improving productivity. The example I just gave 5 minutes ago, that took weeks for us to clean up that process on behalf of this $200+ million company. You just saw the Copilot can do this in seconds. Insight generation. So the point that I make here is think back to what Copilot did is it said, here's your revenue, here's your cost of goods sold. What we'll go into in just a short while is identifying any kind of outliers that may exist. I can ask the questions that I have, but I can also in Copilot to say, what do I see that maybe the human eye cannot? And then you also saw that I can create templates. And where Microsoft is also taking this is towards agents. Agents of being able to say, let's create specific use cases that somebody like Jaco could say, let me do this again and again and again. Now, what's beautiful about Copilot versus something like ChatGPT, well, some of you might say, hey, I like ChatGPT. I'm going to take my information, pop it in there, get my answers, and bring it back. The problem is you have to leave the Excel environment. So one of the tricky things about that is you're taking your data and you're taking it outside of a protected environment, you're copying and you're bringing it back. Copilot stays within Excel. And then Copilot with PowerPoint and Outlook and all of the other Microsoft applications take place within the suite. You can get all of this in real time. So there's no delay of waiting for Yako or anyone else to send you an email back. It's, let me put this right in. I'm going to get my answers within 5, 10, 30 seconds. And then as you'll see, as we start getting into this even more, better visualization, better recommendations. I know Excel inside and out, but Copilot's going to give me recommendations that maybe I didn't even think about. Okay, so as it relates to effective use of Copilot, I'm going to give you some introductions here, and then we're going to come back and we're going to take a look at just why is this so important.
So Carl, maybe before we jump in there, had a question coming in from Dali. Will reconciliation still work if the order of one data set's not the same, so order of columns not matching, or if we have added some data, etc.?
Yes, it will. So what Copilot will do is it will take a look at all of your headers. Now, it does help to format this into what's commonly referred to as a dynamic table. So if you put it into a dynamic table, Copilot will take a look at those headers. It will identify what is there, and it's going to say it might be in column D in one data set. It might be in column G in another data set. It's going to be able to reconcile the differences. And then also, I tried to keep it very basic here of showing one anomaly, one revenue data point that was gone. But you probably would have guessed that if I had 55 of them, it would say you have 55 instances where it doesn't reconcile. Anything else coming in through the chat window, Yako?
I think we're good for now. Thank you.
Okay. So one point that I'm going to encourage all of you to think about is, well, what's the best way to be working with Copilot? Effective uses. So number one, you've got to make it specific. When we start going into the data, you're going to see some specificity that I'm going to put in here. Provide context. Now, I might just say, hey, I want this answer, just do a calculation, but it's probably going to help if I say, I want to test materiality. So when I'm putting together a formula, because I'm testing materiality, highlight something that is greater than a certain threshold or less than a negative threshold. Provide guidance. Now remember, it's called Copilot, not Pilot. The reason why I say this is it's not going to read your mind. I have young children, and what I sometimes tell people in FP&A teams is if you're going to be instructing AI, Copilot, or something else, you've got to sometimes treat it almost like it's a child. So it can't read your mind. You have to be able to provide specificity, context, continued guidance so that you can coach it and then review your results. As many of you have highlighted into the chat window, results may not be right. Don't trust it 100% of the time. Use your financial and accounting brain to say, does this make sense? Do I agree? What additional guidance do I need to give? So I'm going to give you a little bit more detail here, but I'm going to dive right back into the file so you can show, I'm going to turn it over to Yako in a little bit, and then I'm going to go into a file and show exactly what some of these issues are. So when we go into Copilot and we say, I want to summarize the data, if I just say summarize the data, Copilot's going to come up with whatever it comes up with. It's not going to give me what I probably care about. If I don't say, I want you to calculate variances, it probably won't. If I say, please calculate the variance between forecast and actual, it's going to do that. Here, I might say, rather than instructing it generically, I might say, take a look at sales data, look at it by year, look at it by customer, instead of just saying summarize data. In terms of context, I'm not going to say Copilot does offering discounts to contribute to more sales. It might say it could, but I might say I'm a sales manager. I want to see what 4 customers have the highest count of discounts. And then Copilot may respond saying, well, generally discounts can encourage more sales, but it depends on a variety of factors. So I can grab the insights from Copilot, I can marry it with its suggestions, and then I can take a step further as an FP&A advisor. And then as it relates to these discounts, instead of saying, should I provide more, I could say, which products have a tendency to have discounts applied to them? So I get insights, I get feedback instead of getting some subjective opinion that Copilot is not equipped to answer. And then again, last piece is I often use this cliche, trust but verify. Copilot and AI, they are wonderful tools. But just as you wouldn't trust one of your associates on your team to give you 100% perfect answers all the time, you got to understand that Copilot is probably not going to give you perfect answers all of the time either. So I strongly recommend making sure that when you put this in front of your audience, you have made sure that you have vouched it and you are ready to go. Jaco, I'm going to turn it over to you for just a moment. One of the challenges that I know I have faced across hundreds of clients, my guess is that many people in this audience are dealing with it as well, is you saw me go through and connect to trial balance, connect to trial balance. Getting data, gathering it, consolidating it is a major gap that I think most, maybe even all of us face with FP&A. I'm curious from your perspective, how you've dealt with this. What do you recommend? What are some of your observations?
Yeah, thanks there, Carl. From Drivetrain's perspective, we have over 800 native connectors into source systems. This ranges from ERPs all the way down to data lakes, data warehouses, and then even currency exchange providers as well. I call this the set and forget. We connect to those data sources, information starts flowing in at a certain cadence. It's really, really easy. And you can also do some manual refreshes. Now, a use case that normally pops up for us as well is multi-currency as well as multi-level consolidation. That's more on the, I would say, actual reporting side as well. Drivetrain does that with ease. Normally, you would also find, there were some questions and some allusion to cleaning up data in the background, Carl. We can really make that process easy inside of Drivetrain. We use native English language prompts that you can just come into a data set and say, I want to add in the age of my customers from a CRM data pool, for example. And we click a button and it actually augments my data set for me to use on FP&A and financial reporting as well. You don't have to know DAX. You don't have to know certain languages. We try and make it as easy as possible. You shouldn't be spending your time writing complex formulas. That's how we deal with that inside of Drivetrain. So I do believe we have a couple of questions
That's
here
great
as
to
well.
know. And, I think that one.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Carl.
Yeah,
I
go ahead,
might be,
Jaco. What are some of the questions that have come in?
sorry,
No, I
I
was going to
might
ask the
be a bit of a lag
question
here.
or make the point that even though Excel has been a wonderful.
So I think we might have just lost Carl there. He's going to join in a quick second here. Carl, we have you back.
Sorry about that. It looks like I may have had a little bit of a glitch in my connection.
Well, coming through loud and
Can
clear.
you hear me, Jaco?
Yes, we can. Well, Carl
Okay.
seems to be
Sorry about that.
frozen there.
Apologize for some of
No
this
worries.
internet glitchiness. I think.
Let's try that again, Carl.
Sure, let's try this one more time. Okay. I apologize for this internet connection. I'm not sure if it's the weather or something else. Jaco, I'm sorry. I missed some of the questions that you were asking.
Yeah, no worries. So we have a question coming in from Mark. Many of the examples that you've shown deal with data tables and more back-end data cleaning processes. How can you best leverage Copilot in the existing fully built financial models? Can Copilot look into whether cell references point to it for help? Do we need to, or does it need everything to be formatted into one certain table? So self-referencing as well as front end versus back end data cleansing.
Yeah, so one of the challenges that we have in Copilot is it can look at disorganized data. It can take a look at data if it is not a dynamic table. Reason why I showed the process that I did of saying, let's take the backend information, let's bring it through Copilot, let's bring it through Power Query, is that structured data that we have, putting it into a dynamic table is going to make it far more efficient in Copilot. Otherwise, that disconnection that Copilot sees, it's probably going to give us far less efficient and far less productive answers. Okay, let's open up poll question number 2. I'm curious from all of your perspectives. What do you see as being the most useful applications of AI in finance? Do you think it's automation of tasks and reconciliations like what I just showed? I'm going to share with you variances in just a moment, being able to analyze and get insights from large data sets. Even the example I gave of over 2,000 lines of saying, do we have an anomaly? Do you think that it's helpful for putting together those narratives, like what I had shared moments ago, of saying, all right, there is one anomaly, this is what it is, let's actually point to it, or forecasting and predictive analytics and scenario modeling? What do you think?
Great. It seems like the majority of the feedback there is automating repetitive tasks like reconciliation and variance analysis at 42%, followed by 29% of assisting with forecast and scenario modeling.
Okay, great. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take us even further. Let's come back into our data. Jaco, are you able to see this information?
Let's see. It's probably still loading, Carl.
Okay, let's just get this up. I'll wait just another moment to ensure that you're able to see this.
Yep, we're good.
Okay, back into this workbook. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to data. I'm going to go to get data from file from CSV again. And instead of typing in actual 1 and actual 2, I'm going to go to what I'm going to call the consolidated trial balance. Again, preview from Power Query. Instead of loading, I'm going to say, let's transform the data. Here's my window. It's going to show all of this information. And I'm going to say, looks good, but here I have actuals and here I have forecasts. I'm going to go close and load to, and I'm going to bring this into a dynamic table. Let's click OK. And now we have raw TB. Let's get rid of these other connections that we no longer need. Let's delete these out. Okay, so now I have brought in all of these actuals. I have brought in all of these forecasts. I'm going to format these as numbers just so it's easy for all of us to see. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to my forecast value and see what it is that we have. Let's just point out revenue. I have 5.2 in forecast revenue, 4.6 in actuals. Well, I'm going to go up here to Copilot and I'm going to open this up. Let's come up here to it says create a new conversation. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, let's suggest a formula column. So let's click suggest a formula column and let's see what it does. Now, again, because it looks like I have a little bit of an unsteady internet connection, I'm hoping that this is going to work as efficiently as I would hope for. But let's see what it does. Okay, it's a little bit slower than I would expect it to be. So I'm actually going to close this up and I'm going to start it over again. Just one moment. So I'm going to open up Excel and let's go back into our file. And this again is the file that we want to work on. Here's the forecast values, and let's come back over here to Copilot again, just one more time. Sometimes it can get hung up. Oh, okay. Now I'm going to click suggest a formula column. It's saying, let's work on it. Let's see what it's going to give us. It's saying, let's take a look at the data. Almost there. All right, now take a look at what's happening here. It has highlighted all of my data. Now take note, I did not highlight the data. It identified that this is the data that's here. It's saying, looking at A1 to G2233 on raw trial balance, here is one formula to review and insert. Now, Jaco and everyone else, I did not tell it to calculate a variance. I didn't tell it to do this. It said, I think I see actuals. I think I see forecast. I think you might benefit from doing a variance calculation. Now, it also is going to explain what this means. It's going to show the difference between actual and forecasted values for each account, helping you quickly spotlight where performance deviates from expectations. Now, this, to answer Yako, one of the questions that came in of, do we really have to structure the data in tables? You don't have to, but you're strongly going to benefit. Because if you take a look at what it's doing here, it's saying, let's take the actuals minus the forecasts, and I can then insert the column. Now, if you take a look over to the right, when I put my cursor over insert column, it's presenting what I call a phantom column. It's kind of like a fake column that it would insert if I said, please insert it. Now, in addition, I can click show explanation, and just like you might see in something like a ChatGPT, it's going to explain everything that is being represented here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click insert column, and there we go. It's taking the formula that I did not create. I did not tell Copilot to do this. It's inserting this formula every single step of the way. Okay, now when I come down further, back down into the Copilot chat window, I say, all right, well, it's nice to have all of these, variances here, but this is not going to help me exactly the way that I want. What I want to be able to do is I want to calculate and determine whether these are favorable or unfavorable variances. So if you remember from my walkthrough a little bit before of you got to be specific, you've got to provide context, you've got to be helpful, you've got to check whether this is right or whether this is wrong. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, Copilot, please insert a new column to the right of the data that is named favorable and unfavorable. So what does that mean? This is the data. To the right of the data, it's going to insert a new column. At the header, it's going to name it favorable and unfavorable. Now, in addition, I want to point this, created a dynamic table here. All of these are named. Copilot knows what those headers are. If I put my cursor here and I continue the prompt, I'm saying for roll-up category. So right here, for roll-up category that contains, let's just say, the text COGS. If the variance header, if it's negative, insert the word favorable. If the variance is positive, insert the word unfavorable. So what it's going to do is it's going to take a look at all of these roll-up categories, say, what's in here? If it has the word COGS, it's going to say whether this is favorable or unfavorable. But I'm not done. What I'm also going to do is I'm going to say, for revenue, if the roll-up category contains revenue and the variance is negative, insert the word unfavorable. If it's not, make it favorable. And then finally, for everything else, I'm going to say for all of the other categories, put NA. Let's see what it gives us. While this is calculating, Yako, anything coming into the chat window? Any questions coming through?
Yeah, there was a question here coming in from Artem. Can we use Copilot to perform pre-closing end-of-month forecasts based on actuals plus like subledger data? You mentioned PO data, maybe AR invoices, likes of that?
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. It needs a little bit of direction, though. If you think back to some of my rules of specificity, context, etc. So if you were to say, put together a forecast based on actuals, it may come up with its own statistical methods of data extrapolation. So you're going to have to give it a whole lot of information and a whole lot of coaching to get it to where you want to go. All right, now let's take a look here. Looking at the data on raw TB, here's one formula. Now take a look at what it's doing. It's going to add in column I. Remember what I'd said is to the right of the data. So it's saying in column, I'm going to insert a new column. It's going to be headed favorable, unfavorable. Now, when we go down, this is the exact formula that it is going to insert. Again, there was a question that had come through of, well, do you have to put this into dynamic tables? You don't have to, but it's definitely going to help because now I have this formula that's going to work the way that I want. When I come down, I'm going to click insert column. Voila. So what does this allow me to do? All I have to do is I can say, let me create a templated approach through Copilot to say, take a look at actuals, take a look at forecasts, create the variance, do this favorable, unfavorable, and do it every single month that we have updates. Last piece that I'm going to do, and then we will come back into our slides in just a moment, is I'm going to say, I want to highlight the most material variances. Highlight the cells in favorable, unfavorable, where the values in the variance column are greater than 10,000 or less than a negative 10,000. Let's put this in, and this will be the last reveal. Let's take a look at what it does. It's going to say understanding the data, almost there. It's going to probably highlight everything. Nope, didn't like that. Okay. So this is actually a wonderful teaching moment of saying sometimes we make a request and it says, I just can't do it right now. Let's try again. So I'm going to put it back in. I want to highlight the most material variances. Let's try one more time. There we go. Okay. So sometimes it takes a couple of tries. And what it's going to do is it's going to insert this formula to highlight all of the values that I want. I'm going to click apply and look at what it's done. It has highlighted the most material variances. I come up here to filter. I say, let's filter by color. There you go. So everyone, in just a short amount of time that we have been together, I have said, let's grab back-end data. Let's reconcile between different versions. Let's see if anything's missing. Now, once we have good data, let's compare forecast versus actual. Copilot said, I think you might care about the variances. I do. It calculates the variances, whether it's favorable or unfavorable, and monitors everything materially. I could do this in 5 seconds instead of having to do this over the span of this program. The reason why I'm taking you through step by step is so that you can do this on your own. You can save the template, save the process, and you can do this in very short order. Okay, so in just a couple of moments here is where is Copilot going to go? It's going to get more human. It's going to have agents. It's already getting there. It's going to be more integrated into the data from the back end. It's going to prescribe solutions. It's going to become far more capable and far more intuitive. What I'm sharing with you today was not possible in Copilot a year ago. It's just going to get better and better and better. Jaco, I'm going to turn it over to you for just a moment. So you just saw a moment ago, Copilot got hung up, right? Copilot has some issues when it comes to modeling and collaboration and involving information from other people. I'm curious from your perspective, what does this mean to the future of FP&A and how do you see this getting addressed?
Yeah, sure. Thank you for that. Team, welcome to Drivetrain. As I mentioned, those 800 connections over here, I'm on my data page. So we've connected in NetSuite, some Google Sheet data, for example, some Salesforce data. If you want to add more systems in, there's the landing page of all of our native connectors that you want. Now, from this side, data gets connected at a cadence of choosing. It rolls up and it's really intuitive. For example, this Bamboo HR data, you might want to pull it in on a cadence of your choosing, or you might want to refresh it as you see fit. Now, if I were to head over to the model section, you would see that we have different models set up here as well. From our side for collaboration, we have a Drive App Hub, which is a AI app agent that is going to help us launch certain applications. You can see there's multiples on screen. If I were to just click into the payroll data, because the system knows that I have HRIS data from Bamboo connected already, you would see over here that it's going to actually write the metrics, build out the models for reporting for myself, as well as some reports as well. Now, if I were to go in here and launch this AI app, in Excel, this would take multiple, iterations and times, but to set this up. But in Drivetrain, actually, if I go back to models, you would see now that we have added in a couple seconds here, HRIS data in a folder as well. Now, if I were to click into this, let's show you a couple of these models. I have a headcount forecast here. Remember, this is based on a standard set of actuals on how we have put this agent together. So it's looking at your reconciliation of opening headcount, for example, all the way down based on your employee roster. If I were to back one up, show you my payroll roster over here, data would be now loaded, making sure that it's reconciling back to my pay stubs. So salary, merit increases, bonuses, 401k, list continues on and on. And finally, something like a tax model as well. This is all set up intuitively, making sure that we can track FUTA, SUTA, and FICA as well. So let's just give you a quick glimpse of that. Payroll taxes, social security taxes, Medicare by state as well. So this is all good and well if you have a starting point, but you can also come and tweak some of these models for reporting purposes. Something like marrying ERP data with HRIS data, for example, like revenue per FTE, can come in here and calculate that quite easily by referencing revenue from my P&L and dividing that, for example, by closing headcount. There we go. If I hit apply, system's going to calculate that and give an answer for us here on screen. So let me just scroll here to the far right. So super intuitive to have things built out from an AI agent, but also very easy and intuitive to shape it towards your business as well. Now let's quickly hop in here to reports and have a look at what has been built by my AI agent from a headcount analysis perspective. I have headcount and payroll analytics here. Headcount analytics, opening, closing, net new additions, as well as some different visualizations. Everything here is drill and droppable from a custom range perspective. So if I would change ranges, everything would be filtering through automatically. You can go and reset that report. But more importantly, if you don't like the sequence of where charge appears, everything inside of Drivetrain is click, drag, and droppable. So you can also come in, make sure that you can save things around. And the nice thing now is that you can also start collaborating with different people. So maybe this doesn't look right and I want to have a comment to somebody. I can come in and for Anya, I can say, hey, does this look correct? And I can now lock this comment to Anya via Slack bot or email. She'll receive a notification that Yaku has tagged her into this model on the report. Please come in, log in, and give some feedback. Or I can make this available to everybody as well. So collaboration with inside of the system, but also leveraging some AI in the background to put a work stream together and then having people collaborate on top of that. Truly easy inside of Drivetrain, Carl.
That's great to see. And I think it's interesting, and as I've brought up before, is Excel's a wonderful tool. And the great things about Excel are also what I might say are the terrible things about Excel. It's great because we have the ability to be very customized, but it's hard to scale. It's hard to collaborate. And I think that with tools like Drivetrain, is you start to see a lot more of the seamlessness and connectivity that Excel sometimes struggles with. As you can see, we just launched poll number 3, and you can see, would you like to see any kind of an exploration of what this can do? And I can tell you that Drivetrain is really one of the better tools that I have seen out there, just in terms of ease of use, connectivity, and being able to get insights really quick and really easy. And then also curious where you see the future of AI, given that we've gone through a little bit on Copilot. Many of you have probably worked with Claude and Gemini and ChatGPT. Do you think that we're going to have agents? Do you think that there's going to be more focus on predictive analytics, more on the transactional and administrative tasks, or do you not know? Because many of us, we're living this in real time as it goes on.
Amazing.
And it looks like, yeah.
Oh yeah, you have the results there. It looks like AI is taking over more transactional administrative work, freeing FP&A for strategy. And a close second, I would say, AI Copilot or agents becoming the standard tool for most finance professionals at 38%.
Great. So, in summary of many of the points that I've raised here today and that Yako has also brought out is the importance of enhanced efficiency. I think one of the biggest issues that we in FP&A deal with are we spending our time, our effort, and our energy in the right areas of the business? If we are focusing so much on manual tasks, that becomes a real problem, not a good use of our time. So Copilot and other tools help us streamline a lot of what these tasks are. Again, even though I was giving you a roll up your sleeves, get your hands dirty on how to reconcile, see if data is missing, how to put variances together, if I were to do this without teaching you, I could probably do this in just a couple of minutes. Insights. You saw with variances, I didn't ask Copilot to give me variances. It said, I think you might benefit from variances. In addition, I put my data up there. I used the Finance Copilot tool and it said, here's a summary of your data. If I wanted to go even further with pivot tables or line graphs, it'll highlight where I've got any kind of anomalies or signal detection. Integration, what's wonderful about Copilot is it allows us to integrate across the entire Microsoft suite. We can keep all of our data within that platform. And then this fourth piece where some of you, I even see some questions of, well, why wouldn't I just take this and put it into ChatGPT or some other AI tool? Well, if you're copying your data and putting it into ChatGPT, you don't know where that data is going. Whereas if you keep it within this environment, you can maintain strong data security and governance standards, which are very, very important, not just to your company, but probably to your clients if you're in an advisory perspective. In the last few minutes that we have, feel free to type into the chat window or put it into the Q&A. Jaco, do we have any additional questions that we haven't answered?
Yeah, I was probably a bit more curious, Carl, and wondering if I can pick your brain. Are there any limitations in terms of the maximum number of rows or columns that Copilot can analyze?
I don't know that it's going to be maxed out by anything aside from what's in Excel. So you've got 1,048,000 rows in Excel. But here's the thing, Jaco and everyone else, is you saw the Copilot got hung up. When I tried to have it highlight, it said, sorry, I can't do it. And what I didn't know is, well, can I not do it because my internet connection's not good, because I've got too much data, because it's just not sure what to do? You know, sometimes when you're dealing with a whole lot more data, it could end up burdening your processors.
Yeah.
Anything else that's coming through? I see David asked the question, is there a website where you can see new features of Copilot month over month? Microsoft releases it on its blog, Copilot announcements that are taking place. Unfortunately, sometimes Microsoft just pushes the updates and you see them when you see them, but go to the blog and you'll see them announced in real time. Jaco, in the last couple of moments, I want to turn it over to you for any closing thoughts about anything that we've talked about here today.
Yeah, Carl, thank you for that. Learned a lot. Personally, love Excel, used Excel a lot in my previous life as well before joining the Drivetrain family. So it has a soft spot in my heart as an ex-FP&A professional. Truly great to see how the tool has evolved. I think that there's a lot of specific use cases, things that we're going to comb through here as well and apologize that we didn't get to all of your questions here. So we'll make sure between Carl and myself to follow up on those as well. But thank you for joining us today. I think between Carl and myself, we did buffer a bit of extra time. So Carl, is that okay if I can volunteer your time here? We are happy to stay on for a couple of more minutes here. I see we're drawing to a close. We'll kind of mull around if you guys want to stick around for some more Q&A. Otherwise, feel free to drop off. Our team will also be able to send a recording as well as this demo deck out to you all. But I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy days. I know month end, quarter end's coming up as well. All of the best from one ex-finance professional to you all with that. And then, yeah, thank you for joining us today.
Okay, I see some more questions coming in. Jade asked the question, in Excel, Copilot constantly throws errors or just flat out refuses to generate anything useful. Yeah, I mean, I think that I had addressed some of that already too, is, you know, sometimes it just pushes back on you. Sometimes it gives you wrong answers. AI is not perfect. Whether you are dealing with Copilot, whether you are dealing with ChatGPT, it will come up with very convincing answers or blatantly wrong answers. It's your Copilot. It's not your pilot. So you still have to wear your finance and accounting hat, saying this is almost like one of my staff accountants or my staff FP&A professionals. It's really good, but it's going to have some faults. Okay, so you got to make sure that you're staying diligent with that.
Yeah, John is also asking, are there any limitations in terms of the maximum numbers? So we already introduced that question. Also, just back to the limitation there of Excel. And then anonymous attendee said, I've noticed ChatGPT and other LLMs struggle with calculations. Is Copilot any different?
I hate to say it, no, I don't think that it is. So as I had shared, I actually built LinkedIn Learning's course on Copilot in Excel for FP&A. And even through my work, when that course first came out many months ago, was I was putting in calculations and commands, and it was sometimes giving me incorrect answers. So whether you're in ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, or Copilot, again, it may give you bad calculations. So use it as a guide, use it as a helper. Don't use it as your end all be all leader that you can just trust 100% of the time. Anything else? I note in the chat window, thank you, thank you, thank you. Nice to see so many familiar names. I'm glad that many of you found this very interesting. Again, we're right in the thick of this movement, and it's not a place in which you just master it and you're good. It's just a constant exercise in learning and growth. Jaco, anything else that we see here?
I think we're good. Let's move towards closing the session. Carl, I want to thank you again. Thank you for teaching us today. It was great collaborating with you today on this webinar. And to everybody else, feel free to reach out if there are any other and further questions. Have a great day.
Wonderful. Thank you all for coming.